Next up here, we have Cheuk Ting Ho. I hope I got that approximately right. Cheuk is a very special person. Sorry, 1 second. Yeah. So after having a career as a data scientist and developer advocate, Cheuk dedicated her work to the open source community and working as a community manager at OpenSSF. She has co-founded Humble Data, a beginner Python workshop that has been happening around the world. In fact, we had a workshop of Humble Data yesterday here, in case you hadn't and saw it. And she has served the EuroPython Society board for 2 years and is now a fellow and director of the Python Software Foundation. And Cheuk is here today to talk to us about Untangling Python Spaghetti, which is a deep dive into environments and dependencies management. Very interesting. Please, big applause, very warm welcome to Cheuk.
Let me start. Okay. Thank you very much. And like I always said, the most important slide of the whole slide deck is the first one, because can you see the link on the top? That's the link to this slide deck. So for taking a picture of this slide, you will have the whole slide deck. So then you can relax and just listen to the talk. You don't have to be like, oh, that's interesting, and then take the phone out or something. So thank you for the introduction. I'll also introduce myself a little bit in the slides, but I also have my contact detail here at the front, so if you want to kind of tweet on not tweet anymore, sorry, mastodon me on social media, or find me on whatever, then like, yeah, you can find me there. So I hope the slides doesn't make you feel hungry. So this is the only slide that involves food, don't worry. How to untangle the Python spaghetti, and also another more important aspect is like, why is it so important and why you should think about how to do it better if you're not doing it yet. So let's jump into it. Before I kind of talk about all these, the environment, how to manage them, I would like to introduce myself. So I love open source. I would say that my whole career is built on open source, so I'm so thankful for the community and all the resources that's available to me. I contribute to a few of the libraries that you may or may not have heard of. Some of them more contributions, some of them just like small contribution, but it doesn't matter. Contribution is contribution. I also organize a lot of community events, so including Humble Data. Right now, I'm not, actively organizing the workshop, but I do have a team of very talented and very organized, very enthusiastic people to help me, which is I'm so grateful for. So this year I was elected as the Python Software Foundation Director. So if you have any question about the Python Software Foundation, I'm also here that happy to chat with you. And the last, for my job, so what do I do for work right now? I am the community manager at OpenSSF. So what is OpenSSF, you may ask? We are part of Linux Foundation, so we are not a profit, so we are not a company, we are an organization. So the goal, specifically for OpenSSF, is to promote the open source software security. We do have a lot of education material on our website and on the Linux Foundation catalog. So there are free courses that you can do, so that's why this slide is so important. You can have free courses. So there are free courses you can take. There's also some newsletter or blog that if you have time, you can read them and, just enrich your knowledge about open source security. So, how many of you use virtual environment? Yeah, it's good to hear, good to see. Okay, so which one do you use? Can I hear some names? Conda, yes? And, sorry? Also Conda? pipenv, yeah? Pyenv, yes, they're similar, but like the name is similar but different. Any? Huh? I don't know about that one. That was new, maybe. Yeah. So, okay, let's look at some of them that like we kind of know about, right? But before that, why do we care about virtual environments? Why do we use them, right? I see a lot of you are using it, but why do we use them? Is it just because we want to do more stuff, like when we are coding? No. Because there's actually a lot of benefit from organize your virtual environment properly. So to lead into the discussion, top 10 risks with open source software. So this is actually a list that is done by Endo Lab. So they have done some research about open source, what risk you have if you are using open source software. So these are the list. I'm not going to spend too much time on them, but so some of them you may have already encountered or know, not encountered by like, oh, I have security issues, but you may already heard of it. For example, known vulnerabilities, sometimes you will get alerts that, oh, your software is not safe, please update it because, you know, there's some vulnerabilities. Or sometimes like we have this very common thing called name confusion attack. So in another word, pip install malware. So I'll explain a little bit more. Why do you pip install malware? Also, there are other things. For example, again, like your software is outdated, you have to update it. Some of them is not like cybersecurity related. For example, license. Have you checked the license of the open source software that you are using, and do you use it properly that is like comply with the license? So there are many issues. So again, like I have give other talk about them, so I'm not going to spend too much time, and it's not the topic of this talk. But I want to highlight these few issues that we got to talk about today. For example, we have untracked dependencies and under or oversized dependencies. So these two problems, as you can see, it's about dependencies. So if you manage your environment properly, so these two problems basically you can avoid by just having a good, you know, virtual environment or managing your your virtual environment. There are also other issues that you could help to improve or try to like avoid a little bit more. It's like, for example, time confusion attack. So what happened is that you pip install something, you are not careful, so maybe pandas, you forgot the S, the panda, oh. And then, you know, for example, if I am a very malicious person, I update a package called panda, and it's doing some harmful things, then there will be, you know, you are at risk of, you know, cybersecurity issues. Or, for example, if you don't know which version of some software that you're using, then it's outdated and you don't even know. So that's why, again, like managing your environment and having a very clear and separate environment and the dependency in the environment is very important. So, yeah, why do we care? So we have that, of course, I talk about how to avoid the cybersecurity risk, but also there's other things that's quite straightforward that you can think of. For example, I've encountered that in the past when I was a data scientist. I was a beginner, so I want to try this method. I want to try this, what this blog post suggested, and try to do some tutorial and stuff. I install everything into one environment, the default one. And problem appear because the environment, for example, one of the pandas version that I used for work had a conflict with the panda version that I used for one of the workshop that I've done in the conference. Then, you know, every time I have to uninstall, reinstall it, it's not very good. And sometimes a lot of these, like for example, pandas or like these libraries, they will have lots of dependencies. Sometimes the conflicts happen in the dependencies. It just makes the whole things even worse. It just make you like, okay, how am I going to resolve that? Now I can't really do anything because they're all conflict with each other. Also to preserve the versions, so a lot of times, maybe you have a project that you haven't touched for a while, a lot of the dependencies has been updated. So if you are updating your version, but you are not updating your code, sometimes the API changes and it won't work anymore. So of course, I always encourage people to make sure you use the updated software, use the updated dependencies. But if, in this case, if you just update one but not the other, like for example, update the dependency but not your code, then there will be problem for your software. Also, sometimes, you know, as my experience as a data scientist before, I would sometimes try different methods of solving a problem, right? And I install a lot of things. And then later I changed my mind. Oh, maybe I should try something else. Then you have the list oversized dependencies. It's not a good thing to have so many like dependencies, especially those that you are not using, because that kind of increase your risk of, again, having like, you know, vulnerabilities, malicious software and all stuff. But also is very annoying if you give this list of dependency to your colleague to continue the project. They have to install everything, including those that is actually not useful in the project. So this is not something that you should be doing, and you know your colleague may not like you because if you do this. be mindful of managing your environment, not just having a virtual environment, but managing it properly to make it clean and nice and organized is very important. But so that's the idea, right? So okay, now I'm a good Python citizen. I'm having a very nice separate environment for my separate project. I install my thing. But then now you wonder, right? You scratch your head. If you are curious like me, you'll be like, but how do Python do this? So I'm doing that, and it seems working. But how can Python know that I have different environment and I'm not using the wrong one in another environment? So that's why we investigate today how Python recognizes it. So first of all, where are your packages stored? So where are they? Like, I know I can pip install, but where do they go? So first, so we will have a look at how and where do they go, and also how Python found your package, right? We just import something, but it's like magic. We just type import, and Python will find your package automatically. There must be some memory in Python to know where to find your package, right? Or a designated place. So we will also have a look at that. So this is something you could try it yourself or try it together with me. We'll do it together. If you have a computer out there, you can now try it. So have you tried to look at what is sys.path? Anybody? Yes? Some of you? Yeah. I have looked at sys.path before because I have some conflicts in my dependence. So that's why I have to investigate. But I can show you what's going on so you don't have to go through the painful journey like I did. So I have a clean kind of like place here. This terminal, I hope you can see. If you can't see and like if it's not, very clear, let me know and I would see if I can make it bigger or something. So I have a terminal. I have Python 3 specifically. So because in my computer it's also, they come with Python 2 and Python 3, which I'm never using Python 2 anymore, but it's still there. So I'm just like, I have to type Python 3 to be sure. So so in my computer, the default Python 3 is 3.9.6, quite old Python. The newest Python version is 12, 3.12, yes, correct. So 3.9 is quite old. So 3.7 is already end of life, so please don't use Python 3.7 anymore because it's not getting security update. It's unsafe. Don't use it. Update your Python. So now we're in the Python terminal. I hope you're all familiar with it. And now we can import sys, right? So we want to look at sys.path. So look at it. Wow, what is this mess? So this is actually where, so sys.path is a list, as you can see. So in this list, there is actually a lot of different strings. And the strings actually is representing a path that your package may be installed. So when you import something in Python, Python will go through this list and find where your packages is. Right? So you can see it's quite specific. You can see some of them with my name on it, maybe. Is it user specific? Or maybe this Python is not it's installed in not specifically for a certain user. That's why you can't see my name on it. But you can see that it's probably a Mac because like you can see the Xcode and all stuff. So this is where your package could live. The first one is an empty string. It's very interesting because it means that it may be something that is in this directory. So for example, if you import a local Python script, it's not a package, then it will first find where it is running right now. So it may be another script. So that's how like Python will do to look for your package. It will actually not very straightforward. It will go through all this path and try to look for it. So that's what Python is doing. So next, we need to know about, because I mentioned it a few times already, pip install. So Python's default package manager is pip, yes. So that's why pip is very important. So for the PSF, again, the PSF is not just like making sure that CPython, which is the Python you download from python.org, is safe. PSF is also working on to make sure pip is safe as well, because it's very crucial. It's our package manager. So a lot, I'm sure nobody here is using vanilla Python all the time. Right? You may need some package, so pip is very important. So I hope you're familiar with it. I don't have to spend too much time. So pip you can pip install, so it helps you to get the package from, by default, it's PyPI, so the Python package index. So it will find the package there. If you type the name correctly, it will go there to find the package that you want, and with all its dependencies, and then install it in those places that I just showed you, those paths. You can type pip list, so it show you all the things you have installed. That's very useful to check, okay, what have I done, okay. And then pip uninstall. So when you don't need a package, you can remove it. Unfortunately, pip uninstall won't go through the dependencies and remove the dependencies of a certain package, let's say pandas. Because let's say pandas, depending on NumPy, you can't pip install pandas and then it will remove NumPy. It doesn't sound right because you may be using NumPy separately. So it won't do that. It will just uninstall a certain package. It won't touch the dependencies. So sometimes I was like, oh, it's not very convenient, because if let's say I do some experiment, I install a package, and then it install tons of dependencies, and now I don't need it. And how do I know which dependencies I don't need anymore? So that's why there's other manager that comes out that can help you a little bit more. For example, I don't know if you know about Poetry, so it's kind of a better tool that can help you to manage all these dependencies and stuff. So let's move on. So it's very important to keep your pip update. So like I said before, we can try to make pip always be more safe. If we find anything that we have to to improve, then there will be new version of pip come out. But if you don't update it, we can't really help you. So please always make sure your pip is updated. Oh. It's updated. There's typo. I just added this slide 5 minutes ago, so that's why there's typo. I'm going to change it. Yeah, sorry, that's me. Last minute style. Okay, so keep pip updated. If you're using an old version of pip, actually you will see the line, the text that when you install something, it'll tell you to please update it. So always keep it updated. It's important. It's also important to keep pip and Python in sync. Years ago, I've run, help mentoring some workshop. There are some attendees. I think they are very enthusiastic in learning, so they have joined a lot of different workshops, like I did when I was a beginner. So they have installed a lot of things in their computer. So somehow, I don't know how it happened, but they have 2 versions of Python, maybe 2 and 3, and 2 versions of pip, but then they are not in sync. So sometimes maybe pip 3 install something, you expect that Python 3 will be, pointing at the same, the path, right? It will be pointing at the same path. So pip 3 install the libraries in that path, and then Python 3 can find it, right? Somehow, in that case, it's not. So we were scratching our head for almost an hour. Why is it not working? Well, we have the package. Why Python can't find it? Because somehow it's not in sync. So pip3 is installing things in another path, and then Python 3 is looking for something in this path. So yeah, that's why, again, it's almost like an art, how you manage your environment to avoid this situation that the pip and Python are not in sync. They're pointing at different direction, and you have no idea what's going on. So especially when you have multi-version of Python, like I do actually, again, typo again, is this also a last minute slide? So. Yeah. Live coding, yay. Live fixing slides. So I have multiple versions of Python I can show you. I use PyEnv and virtualenv, so I can have Python 3.9, 3.10, 3.11. I may install 3.12 very soon. Once it's, and now it's available, I just don't have time to install it. But we need a package manager. Not a package, sorry. We need a virtual environment manager, so we can always have a separate environment. Whenever you start a project, always a good practice to start a new environment. So it's brand new, everything, there's no conflict. You start from, from a blank sheet of paper that you can start drawing. So there's no problem with what you have done in another project. So I want to introduce you to venv. So what's the difference of venv from PyEnv, pipenv, and poetry, and any other things that we heard about. So the good thing about venv is that it comes with CPython. So it's, you know, CPython, when you download it from python.org, actually there is not just CPython itself. It comes with a lot of libraries called standard library. So these standard libraries are libraries that you don't have to pip install. It just comes together with your Python. It's like you buy, you know, a sandwich and it comes with a drink. They come together. So that's good because everybody has it. We are on the same page. You don't have to be like, oh, you haven't used poetry before. Actually, let me show you how to. No, you don't have to like, oh, have you tried venv? It's in your computer already, you know. So that's good. It's very, very basic, but I think in a lot of cases, it's already good enough. But again, if you want that extra feature, for example, finding which library depending on which, then maybe you have to use another tool that support that feature. One of the other tools, of course, someone mentioned, like pipenv. I haven't used pipenv a lot, so I can't comment on it. But poetry, I've tried using it for a bit. It's quite good in some aspect, but lacking in some aspects. So that's why I was like, okay, I will go back to the venv. But poetry is kind of help you with multiple things, not just having a new environment, but it will also trace the dependencies. So you can, if you have a project, you can clearly list these dependencies are for using my library, and these dependencies are for developing this the project. So this is good in certain way. So, but let's put those third-party aside. Let's focus on venv because it's the basic. So if we understand venv, we'll understand more about the others. So this is how you use venv. You can use venv to create a new environment, and then after that, you'll have a folder in that, you know, in the folder that you create, the folder, and then it will store the package and extension there, and then it also has some scripts to help you to manage the environment. What are all these? Of course, like, it's not good to write it out. I would do a demonstration about that. So what am I talking about? Okay, so let's exit this environment. Oh, by the way, before I exit, let's check one thing. So let's check if I have request installed here. So import. So there's an S there. So again, like typo thing. So if you're not sure, double check. You can just look on PyPI to see if this is what you want. So request is not here because I haven't installed it. So let's exit. So to double check, we can also check with free list. So request is not here. So okay, of course, then I can't use request. That makes sense. So what I want to do now is, well, by the way, my pip is not updated. Don't do that. Yeah. So what we want to do now is to create a new environment with venv. So I do Python 3-m, which is like calling a package and using it in the command line. So this package is venv that all of you should have if you have Python installed. So after that, I need to type a name for the new environment. So I think, like most developers, I'm not very good at naming things, so I'll just call it mynv. Okay, pyenv, what is going on? Mynv, yeah. So it takes a while, but it's doing something. So let's see what it does. So now, oh, actually I forgot to show you, but it was an empty directory before. So now I have this. This is new. This just created a few seconds ago. So I have mynv as a folder. What is in this folder? Let's have a look. So we have more folders. So so you can dive into it if you want, but I would want to show you two of them. So the bin here, the first one, and the lib. So what are in them? So let's go to lib, have a look. So Python 3.9, okay. And then, okay, Python side packages. Ooh, this looks familiar. I think I've seen it a few minutes ago. Is in here? Right? It's like, oh, Python 3.9 side packages. This path looks very similar to this path because it's like a lib, Python 3.9, and side packages. So let's see what's inside. Ooh, this also looks very familiar. I have pip, I have setup tools, which is matching the pip list that I have before. So, so yeah, always kind of matching here as I have all these things, right? Yeah. So cool, nice. But it's a little bit different because this environment I have also other things that this environment doesn't have. If I do a pip list again, oh, I haven't activated the environment. I will show you when I activate the environment. So yeah, remember that. Okay, so now I have some packages in the side packages, and how do I activate the environment? So this is the thing. So let's investigate the bin folder. So inside bin, you have these things. So these things actually are scripts. So they are actually the command that you use when you're using venv. So to activate an environment, what you can do is to do source. So this is, I'm using Mac. It may be slightly different if you're using Windows. But all of them you can find in the documentation, so don't worry. So source, I would want to do the activate there. So bin and then activate. So I call the activate script here, if you can see. I want to call this script here. So I do source and then call the script. That's what I do. And now you can see that here at the top, at the beginning of the line, there's my env in bracket, which means that now I'm in my env environment. So what I can do is to do a pip list, and then you will see that I have pip and setup tool. It matches here the thing that I have here, so it matches pip and setup tools. Ooh, okay, so there's something going on here. To prove that now I'm actually having a separate environment, and all the paths are pointing to this folder instead of anywhere here, because these are in the system, right? These are not in that folder. But now I want to prove that all my things are in that folder. I can investigate. So what I can do is, for example, I can now use Python. I don't have to type Python 3 anymore because now I'm in a separate environment. So, but I'm still using 3.9 because I created using 3.9, so I'm still using 3.9. Now, so, oh, maybe, can I, okay, push it? No. Okay, sorry about that. It's at the bottom. I hope you can still see. Or I can push this window a little bit higher so it may help a little bit. Okay, so now I would import sys and then sys.path. You should see that I still have a lot of path, but what is unique about it is that you can see my env is here at the end. So I'm actually when I import anything, it's pointing to that folder, the lib folder that I showed you before. It's there. This is the path pointing to that lib folder. So now if I install anything, it should go into that lib folder, and I import anything, it should import from that lib folder. To prove that it's true, let's do something. So let's do a pip install request. I hope I spell it correctly, otherwise I have malware. Okay, good. I should also update pip. Again, update pip, please. Okay, so that's why it's there to remind you. So now I have install request, so I can also double check what is in that site packages, remember? So you see, oh, now there's lots of things. Now there's like, oh, URL lib, now there's request, and also other things that you request depends on. So now I have install request, and it's dependencies. So now if I do the Python, and I go inside, and then like, now I can import request. And I have request. I got a warning, but it doesn't stop me from importing requests. So I have request. Yeah, no, yeah, it's just a warning that like some other libraries are not, not updated. Yeah, the SSL module. Oh, okay, it's a new problem. So yeah, we should look at it later. Okay, so anyway, so now I successfully install request, and I have request. And so let's recap what we have done. We have used venv, create a new environment. So I have a new folder. Inside the folder, I have the script that I can activate the environment. I activate the environment. All the site packages, like all the install, is going to that specific site packages inside that folder. I have install requests, so the requests go into the folder, and I can import and use it in Python. Great, so we have done well. So I have some time left, so I will quickly talk about conda. Conda, so some of you is using it, so now you scratch your head again. It's like, okay, now I understand venv. What about conda? So a little bit background. So conda is famous because it comes with Conda. So a lot of data scientists it's a very famous tool for popular tool for data scientists. So conda is actually a environment manager and also a package manager. So conda is doing two things. Conda is not just your VM, but it's also your pip. So you can do both. So that's why you can do conda install. And fun fact, conda is built with Python. So what does it mean? What does it mean? Like, what's the difference from of conda from VM and pip? So yeah, so let me add some context here. So for example, if you do conda install, it's not installing directly from PyPI. It's the default of conda is actually going to conda.org, which installs some release of some popular packages by conda. So I would give you more details later, but again, I've been told that conda should not be capitalized. Sorry about that. Yeah, I keep fixing my slides. So conda is popular by the data science community, but why? Why people need conda, right? It's kind of like a story back in maybe almost a decade ago that a lot of data scientists found that, oh, Python is great, it's very easy to use because C code is a bit hard to write and time consuming. So, but then they want to also get the advantage of some C code. For example, Fortran provides a lot of the matrix kind of handling library, so that's why they created NumPy, for example. So it's a library that is, they have a Python API, you can use it with Python, but inside it's actually written in some C code, so you get the performance advantages. So those library involves a lot of binary, involves a lot of extra thing that's not written in Python. So it's very hard at that time is to just use pip to install it. So conda kind of acts like a one-stop stop for everything. So you don't have to worry about building it from source. You will, at that time, conda will publish the libraries that's compatible for a lot of modern OS operation system. So it's very user-friendly. I don't know how many of you have tried to download install something, and then you have to build from source, and then it's complaining that you don't have the GCC compiler or something is missing from your computer. It's very difficult for someone who is not from a a computer science background to solve those problems. And so, but Python is used by a lot of people who doesn't have computer science background. So at that time, it's something that is really good for the community. Of course, nowadays, things change and got improved. So now, pip install is not that bad as before. You can still install some where there's already binaries, already packages. You don't have to build from source anymore. So using conda is very similar. You also create a new environment, and then you it's kind of the only difference is that conda also not just have the side packages difference. So because what VM does is try to have separate environment for different Python things, but conda is not limited to Python. It can also have different version for, let's say, Git or something else in your computer, which is quite cool. So this is all the commands from conda. I'm not going to dive into it because I'm running out of time. So let's look at the comparison. This is very important. So venv is good if you are purely using something that's Python. Because it's come with Python, it's very straightforward to use. You don't have to install a third-party software to use it. And also, pip, everything is maintained by the PSF, so it's kind of pip will work together with CPython very well. Conda, if you are someone who is maybe already using Conda, you like the offerings from conda.org, then it's quite good to use it as a manager, and the package and environment manager. So, or you can use both. I don't think I have time to show you the demo. So if you are interested, or if we don't have that many questions, I can come back and show you. But you can actually, because for me, before I thought that I can't use conda and venv or pyenv or pipenv together, but actually you can. I can show you how, but I'm running out of time, so maybe next time or come to me. Now, because now you have two tools, at least I teach you two tools, venv and conda, so you have no excuse to not manage your environment well. So you don't have to use those two. You can use whatever you prefer, like poetry or something, but choose one, choose a good environment manager to help you follow the good practice of the open source community and try to make a better managing of your project. So these are the reference. If you've got the slides, you can go to the slides and you can click on the reference. So before I end it, I want to give a shout out to PyLadiesConf. It's an online conference at the beginning of December. Support the PyLadies community, so please check it out. The website's there. So thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Cheuk. That was very interesting. So we're now opening up the round of questions. So remember, if you have a question, please raise your hand, and we'll take the microphone up to you so that your question is also up on the streaming and on our recordings of the event. So please raise your hand if you have any questions. Any questions over there?
Hello. Thank you. When you showed the syspath before creating the virtual env and then adding the environment, it just like added the path to this list of paths. There's some way to force it to just use the local folder and this virtual env, like not using the other stuff?
That's a very good question, because I have tried adding extra path to the sister path. You can do that with the Python script, but I haven't tried removing them, so that's very interesting. I think that's something that you could try at home. Like, you can try remove it, see like, can it still find it if I remove the path, So yeah, I think you could try. But yeah, I've added that before because it can't find my local script and it's like, oh, it's not at the path, so I have to add it there. So I have added it before, but I haven't removed it. So it's a very good experiment to do. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oops.
Hi, thank you for the talk. Just curious about poetry. I know the theory, I check a bit, I use it for playing with it. What are the bad things about it? You mentioned that it's not perfect. What are the bad things about poetry?
Sorry, I don't quite get it. Maybe you speak slowly and clear.
Yeah. Sorry, maybe it was too far. What are the bad things about poetry?
The poetry.
You said that it was not perfect. It had some bad things.
Yeah,
what is it? I'm
well, the thing is, like, I don't want to be like controversy and like have strong opinion. Like, to give you some context, I'm the person who like doesn't want to get into debate of tooling because I don't care. Like, tell me what I should, Yeah, I think it's a personal choice, so I don't have strong opinion. But poetry, I have some experience in the past that how they do the versioning is kind of making it very different. So sometimes it got like some. It can't find a version because of how they do the versioning is slightly different from what the Python community at that time is used to. So, for example, sometimes they have to, you have to cap version like, so normally you just like, oh, anything above Python 3.8 is good. But then like poetry, sometimes you come into the case that, oh, you have to also put less than 4, which is sometimes, otherwise it won't work, which is a bit tricky. So that's why, but I think in general it's still a good tool. It's just that some issue with versioning, maybe the community already figured it out. It was a while ago, so yeah. Yeah.
Hey, thanks for the presentation. And I use conda because I can choose the version of Python very easily when I create a new environment. But I would prefer to use venv because it's embedded in CPython. Is there some way to choose the version of Python with virtual env?
Yeah, that's a very tricky thing because venv come with the version of the Python, right? So it's kind of a chicken and egg problem because let's say you install Python 3.9 and then your VM is coming together with Python 3.9 and you use VM with Python 3.9. So you can't use Python 3.9 to generate Python 3.10 because 3.10 come after it. You know, like, that's why there's some limitation with venv. So far, I can't find an easy way of how you can use venv to install another version of Python. But personally, I use pyenv if I want multiple versions of Python. So venv is more like for creating a new environment. So that's, yeah, it's like the different tools have different good and bad. So that's you have to, maybe you can use, like I use both together as a demo because I still have pyenv there, so it's not a problem. So maybe you can use both, yeah. Yeah.
Hi. All right. My question is, seeing what you can do with venv, why not use Docker or some other container form, especially when trying to solve the different Python versions and other stuff like that, that you can have virtually the same thing, you can have different dependencies in your container and also change Python versions. What does venv or this technology offer that a container can't?
Yeah, it's a different level of separation because as you can see, venv is just creating another path. So the OS, the environment, the kernel that Python is running on is the same, but Docker is creating another separate like kernel for running it. So it's on a different. I think you can kind of talk about comparison between, let's say, conda, because conda also manage other things that's not Python, so it's more general. So you can compare. Whether we use conda to create different environment, or we use Docker to just have a separate box of environment, mimicking different operation system environment. So again, I'm not a person who is like who love debating about tooling and which is the best. I would say it really depends case by case. So yeah, again, it really depends. So some people would be like, oh, they want to totally develop in a Docker container. So the environment of development is the same. So I see there are people doing that, and I don't have anything against it if it works for them. But I just want to show people that there are different ways, different tools available, but managing environment is a very key aspect of security and being a good Pythonista. So yeah.
All right, we have time for one more question. So any more questions? Okay, over there.
Hi. I was interested in the part that you had to skip, which is using conda and venv together.
Okay. So the session chair here, how much time do I have? 2 minutes? Okay, 2 minutes, quickly show, okay. Yay. So what happened is that, because I do have mini conda in my computer as well, so yeah, I have mini conda. So it's very similar. You can see there's also the bin, right, the lib. So we don't have time, so let's not look at the lib. Let's look at the bin. So if I look at here, bin. So, I got so many things. It's more than venv because it's more a more complex tool. But you can also still see the activate here. So you can still activate Miniconda. So, of course, the first thing is you have to download Miniconda, which I have already done. I have no time to show you. But what you can do is very similar. You just source. So keep in mind that in this computer, I have pyenv, virtual env, and venv. So everything is still there, right? So I even still have my env there, which is why I should deactivate that first. Oh, it's dead. Sorry. Is it the coffee break after? I'm sorry. You have less coffee.
Don't worry, this minute doesn't count.
It doesn't like to show you. It's not me. Okay. How about people who are interested just come around at my back and look at my computer? Will that work? I'm sorry about the online audience. So, but I have this recorded some time ago, so maybe you can find it. They want to come here? Okay. Yeah, we don't know why. You just gave up last minute. Maybe it needs some coffee. Okay, so sorry. So if you're interested, please come here to my desk and.
Okay,
Before-
this
yeah.
is such a cliffhanger. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
guys,
sorry.
but I'm sure you can
Not
find
done.
Cheuk around in the conference. Please, big applause for her great talk.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cheuk.